Help support the channel. Go to thereef.support and get early access to podcasts, videos, and other content. That's thereef.support. Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And it's time for your double dose of Dismal Disney today. So we're going to talk about Victoria Alonso, who we talked about yesterday, getting ousted from Marvel. I believe she got ousted from Marvel. They're saying she's just moving on.
Oh, bullcrap. It was done too suddenly. And now people are coming out and talking about her and said that she's why the work environment was toxic.
Yes, they're flat out saying she was toxic. She is behind a lot of the drama regarding the visual effects artists. And
like they're trying to unionize now. A lot of it's because of Marvel.
Right. And they said that she had an inordinate amount of power at the company. Now
Which we've been saying.
Yeah, she got promoted a couple of years ago. And it went from her being kind of, you know, she was a producer, but she didn't really make a lot of creative decisions as I understand it, to now she's behind a lot of the really idiotic decisions being done at Marvel right now with Phase 4.
I would say Phase 4, you know, they're saying is, a lot of people are saying it's mostly her.
Yeah, so I mean, this coincides with Disney. We talked about earlier today that they're making lists of people to get rid of, and Kevin Feige's probably like, yeah, let's put her at the top of the list. Let's put her on the list for a number of reasons. And I think basically Marvel is in a really sad state right now. It's in a diminished state. You know, mainstream media has been writing about it for months. It's not just the YouTube haters anymore, guys. It's GQ. And Digital Trends has been writing about it. So many places have been writing about it. And I did a video the other day, kind of a roundup of like all the mainstream outlets that are like, yeah, Marvel is completely broken at this point, and numbers don't lie. The box office returns have been bad. And again, somebody has to pay for it. And it was her time was up. Her time's up.
Apparently.
So we're going to talk about this. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Almost 300,000 subs.
Yay!
So we have been kind of following the situation with Victoria Alonso. We've been following the situation with Marvel and the VFX artists. Geeky's actually been covering it on piratesandprincesses.net. And so now we have some tweets from the reporter who worked for Vulture, who's I guess
kind of been the one, covering it. We've talked about this before. I've done articles before. He's been the one that's been covering it this whole time. Yeah,
so his original, I think this is what kicked it off in January, was inside the VFX union brewing in Hollywood. Right. And then I think before that, he was talking about how overworked the Marvel folks were.
Actually, it was after that. Some people came to him and they were telling him different stories. One person was talking about the amount of work that they wanted him to do and how ridiculous it was. It was like 18-hour days for 3 months. And it was like at a fraction of what he usually gets paid. Somebody else had come to him and was talking about, you know, some of the different things that were going on. And they said basically Marvel's trying to get as much blood out of the rock and they're the blood, or something. They're trying to squeeze out the blood, they're the blood. Yeah, so this is pretty damning. When you've got a Vulture reporter turning on the most powerful woman in Marvel publicly, calling her toxic, it must be pretty bad. And he must feel confident in saying it, that's what they're telling him. Yeah, so this is what he was tweeting. He had a very long tweet thread. We're kind of going through these 3, but people were talking, I'm sure off and on, he mentioned other stuff. Yeah, he said, so many VFX sources have told me Victoria Alonso was singularly responsible for Marvel's toxic work environment. A kingmaker who rewarded unquestioning fealty with an avalanche of work, but who also maintained the blacklist that kept FX pros wild-eyed with fear. Which we've heard people mention that before, that, you know, if you didn't do it, then they wouldn't hire you anymore. And different studios were not working with them anymore because, one, they were allowed to come back because they complained. And 2, they were just like, they're not going to pay us and they're going to demand the moon and we can go work other places. Yeah. And Marvel was really cracking the whip on these people. And, you know, and now we're seeing the results of that. We're seeing, theatrical releases like Ant-Man 3 with laughable special effects. I mean, I can't believe that, Marvel would allow something like MODOK to pass muster. Right. Well, like the She-Hulk, Ant-Man and the Wasp, all these projects of late, they've been crap. Plus they keep getting pushed back, and they said a lot of it was post-production, which would be under her. Well, here's the thing too, and this is again going back to the amount of power she has now. She held a crazy amount of power, bigfooting all major creative decisions on Marvel movies and shows. So
My understanding is she was kind of the shadow boss of Marvel. And when she got promoted, I mean, she's the one that was out there running at the mouth about the X-Men. You know, oh, there are women on X-Men. No, duh, Victoria. There always have been women on the X-Men team. That's
some of them have led the X-Men team.
Some of them have, yes. Believe it or not, we had a black woman leading the X-Men in the 1980s.
No, she just invented diversity. Victoria invented it.
Can you imagine that? Then we had to change Namor just to make sure that we got, you know, to Namor, who is not even the same character. And, you know, every time she opens her mouth, it's diversity, diversity, inclusion, diversity, 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 inclusion. And I have to think that she is probably the one behind pushing all the 2015, 2017 era Marvel characters to the forefront in the MCU when they didn't work in the comics. But hey, let's bring them in the MCU.
Well, they said she has a crazy amount of power, which all ties into that.
Yes.
Bigfooting all major creative decisions on Marvel movies and shows. Kevin Feige and Victoria Alonso personally approve every single shot, all the visual effects work, which is usually the job of the director or showrunner, one tech told me.
Yeah, so this also jives with, you know, things people were saying before. They had the effect shots were kind of worked out separately from the rest of the movie, and sometimes the directors didn't even have input into those action sequences because it was almost like a video game. Like they were already working out the combat scenes, and then the director just had to kind of fill the crap in between the fight scenes.
That's something else people were complaining about, was that they would get past the point of no return and demand all kinds of changes. Yeah. And it was like, we can't. We are, you know, you're coming to the deadline. We cannot make changes to this. Yeah, you can't wait till the last minute. Basically, it was like, don't like it, change everything. And you can't do that.
Yeah, and here's the thing, though. Like, you would think somebody that has worked on these movies as long as she has.
And has come from supposed to be special effects post-production.
Yeah, you would think that she would know. You can't just snap your fingers and re-render a fight scene with like 1,000... you know, troopers running around or aliens and robots and crap.
I think she knows. I think she doesn't care. And she thinks, well, I'm Marvel. And basically, if you don't do what I say, you're on the block list. You're on the blacklist. You're not getting picked anymore. So make it work. Or it'd be a real shame if Marvel can't work with you. I mean, think of all the people Marvel can work with now. Now, the blacklist is gone.
Yeah, I have to wonder, you know, I mean, people are speculating, is this going to actually change anything substantially at Marvel, at Disney? And I think the answer is yes, because I think the reason that they tossed her overboard is, again, somebody had to pay. And I think they could use, it was like, well, it's either Victoria or Kevin Feige. And well, she had that whole FX debacle thing too.
She's the one, they're saying she specifically made it toxic.
Yes.
She specifically was keeping a blacklist.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is what these people are saying.
Yes. So, yeah, this is it. The main one everyone's quite scared of is Victoria Alonso. Another text said, if she likes you, you're going to get work. You're going to move up in the industry. If you pissed her off in any way, you're going to get frozen out. And this is true in comics, too.
Oh, I'm sure she has a list that includes those people, too.
I have to wonder, because, I mean, it kind of starts at the top, right? Because they kind of consolidated all aspects of Marvel. And, you know, there are absolutely positively blacklists in comics. And I'm sure that certain editorial offices keep blacklists, and they probably have names added to the blacklist every day. Don't hire this person, don't hire that person. But the same attitude, we're kind of seeing it in the comics now, where, I mean, Marvel or Disney think that the brand is so valuable now that they can literally just shit anything out.
Pretty much.
And people are going to pay for it.
Well, I think they're finding out real quick that's not the case, and Phase 4 proved that.
Yeah, and Phase 5 is off to a bad start. I mean, if Ant-Man 3 is supposed to be the beginning of Phase 5, nobody cares. The Marvels
are pushed back. This is the 5th time it got pushed back.
The shows are all being pushed back.
Which also would tie into the fact that you know, we're hearing more and more delays are coming for Marvel films and shows. All probably, you know, they're in the pipeline, but they're all bottlenecked because of the VFX. And then you only have so many people that can work on them because you blacklisted so many. And then you don't pay them, or you cause them, you know, probably the one person I guess had worked on Tenet, and they said, we talked about this before, that Marvel, and by Marvel, this probably mean her, wanted to see their pay stubs from working there to prove that they actually got paid what they said they did.
Yeah, it's probably.
I was like, what the hell?
That's probably her. This is really interesting though, because not a lot of people are responding to this. I think they're afraid to. I'm
not afraid to.
No, I think that, I think things are going to change. Now, I mean, honestly, as far as like fixing the MCU at this point, I don't know if they can fix it.
I don't know. I said yesterday that it might be too little too late.
I think you would almost have to like find a place to stop.
Let it rest.
Let it rest, and then probably reboot it. I mean, and be like, let's reboot it and try to stay closer.
By rest, we mean like a good several years, not just hey, we're waiting 2 years and rebooting it.
Yeah, well, like Spider-Man, that was great. That was like, hey, yeah, Spider-Man 3 just came out. Hey, now we got a new Spider-Man. Oh, now we got another new Spider-Man. Yeah. Let's do another Spider-Man. How many Spider-Man can we have? Let's get all the Spider-Men together. But yeah, I think it's pretty dire right now because at this point, I don't think anybody cares about anything coming out of the MCU other than maybe Guardians 3.
Yeah.
Maybe.
They might be interested in some other things that are coming later on, like Daredevil and stuff like that, but that's down the pipeline.
There are strong indications that they have completely nerfed Daredevil.
Well, other things that she's supposed to be attached to is that Echo and the House of Agatha.
Oh, the Agatha ship, whatever.
Harkness one, the Covenant of Chaos, whatever it is. What else? There was another one she was attached to, and I was like, of course she is. Yeah, the Marvels.
Yeah, they said basically whatever she was working on when they ousted her, they're going to keep her name on the credits.
Ironheart.
Yeah, so when those shows fail miserably, they'll be like, oh, that was a Victoria Alonso show. That was before the new regime. Now, here's the thing, though. We're seeing this trend, and we talked about it earlier. We're seeing this trend all over the place. All of a sudden, people that are being blamed for maybe taking a franchise in the wrong direction are getting gone, or they're having their roles diminished, and then we're seeing a course correction.
Yeah, because of money.
Because of money. And
it's not sustainable.
It's not. I got to tell you, I didn't believe people. They said Picard season 3 was pretty good. Now, you don't really care for it.
I don't really care in general. Even though I think it's funny they can say F-bombs and stuff now.
It is. It's funny to hear Picard say fuck.
It is.
It is. I think it is. I think it's funny. It's like, oh my God, Picard's saying fuck. Because we wanted to on the show, But I hated Picard season 1. I watched 2 episodes. I noped out. I did not bother watching Discovery. I thought it looked like crap, and there was a lot of crying, and the Klingons looked weird. I didn't even bother. I'm like, it sucks. I started watching Picard, and I was like, season 3. I'm like, oh my God, if they had done this in season 1, I would have completely been on board with it.
They should have done it from the beginning. People just, powers that be.
So they're canceling Discovery, and they've got Strange New Worlds, which is a prequel to the original Star Trek with Captain Pike. And it's actually, people say it's hit or miss, but the episodes I saw were actually pretty good. Again, my expectations are lowered. I actually have some hope that Doctor Who might be pretty good.
Well, I can hope, but I'm not holding my breath.
Russell T Davies, he might.
I mean, you have me with David Tennant, but we know it's not going to last long, so.
No, but if he can, he might be able to pull it off. I don't know. Maybe I'm being naive, but I get this feeling that these companies are starting to course correct. We're seeing, Netflix and HBO, they're going to cancel a whole bunch of Tumblr cartoons that were not performing. And everybody's like, yeah, let's go back to doing stuff that people like and making money.
Do you hear all that screaming? Get used to it because they're going to keep screaming.
So, I thought that was the dog snoring.
No. I'm joking. I'm like, do you hear that screaming? That's all the people that are really pissed about it. Well, actually, there's probably not very many.
No, there isn't.
But they're going to keep screaming the whole time.
And that's the thing. And I was actually going to do a blog post about this. All of this appeasement, all of that, whatever, it was to appease this fictitious audience of social media nitwits that gave the impression that there were a lot more people demanding certain things from studios or entertainment or whatever, a lot more people threatening cancellation than there actually were. Like, they kept basically chasing this very, very vocal minority of people and getting, and same with comics, they did the same thing. And then it's turning out now that, no, you actually alienated normies, you alienated most of your core audience. You just didn't hear anything about it because they don't live on Twitter.
We didn't have to hear anything, but the money showed it. The numbers showed it.
At the end of the day, money matters, not Twitter clout. And the money's not coming in from Marvel like it was.
No.
So we're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.